Hi guys, so in this video our agenda is going to be three things with respect to amendments in CA Inter, Corporate and other laws with respect to November 23. I am going to cover this in three sections. This is exclusively we are going to discuss the amendments which came in November 23 RTP. And I am also addressing this apart from November 23 RTP, I am addressing to students who have watched our class in May 23 crash law. From you, what you studied there, additional what should I know? That means if you are using the May 23 crash material or recordings which is roughly about 85 hours, or you would have purchased this on the website for rupees 999. I am talking about that batch, or you watched offline class or any other source. And I am also referring to those students who actually watched November 23 regular, which is about 110 hours. You guys would have purchased it for 1499, which is the latest recording for November 23. For you guys, everything is covered except one or two amendments which I will be discussing in the November 23 RTP. You can make a note of that, which is not there in our book, but 95% of amendments itself is covered. For the May 23 crash batch students who watch the class, for you guys there are a few important amendments which I might have sent in message, but I am going to again repeat. And anybody who is watching this just to watch the November 23 RTP also can watch, because I am going to cover all the amendments one by one, but I will tell you which is important for whom based on your batch. This is the agenda. We will roughly be spending 30 to 40 minutes maximum and not more than that. I am not going to go in depth. I will tell you which section, what you should change. And apart from that, there is also one change with respect to private placement chapter in section 42, mainly for the May 23 and for November 23 students, which correction you have to do in the book, which is an amendment, old explanation which is applicable for us. So this private placement, I will take it up in the last, remind me when we get there, okay, fine. This is the RTP November 23. I will not go in detail. I will run through the points, tell you, hey, this is there in the book and I have already covered panitom. This is not there, cover this. What is not there is just a handful, okay. First one, what they are saying, preliminary chapter amendment in small company limit. We have covered the exact correct limit. What is the correct limit as of today? Is simple. Paid up share capital turnover is paid up share capital up to 4 crores, turnover up to 40 crores. That's what you also studied in any of the batch you watched this year. That's what is given over here. 40 crores and 4 crores can maximum extend up to 10 crores and 100 crores. If you have watched any of my class, we would have covered the same thing. Okay, this is there in the RTP. Even those who are watching only RTP understand. This is the first one is small company. Whatever they give in Dabba in RTP, don't even read. It is before amendment. Okay, fine. Next, coming to incorporation of company in section 16. This also we covered in whichever batch you watched. Again amendment in section 16, rectification of name. We would have studied 3 months kulla company should rectify the name, whether it is trademark or company. 3 months. Earlier it was a different period. Leave that 6 months. We studied correctly, but those who are watching only RTP video, remember the section 16 rectification is 3 months. In 3 months you have to do the rectification if ROC orders you to rectify, whether it is trademark or any other purpose. This incorporation company, second amendment, that is what is mentioned over here. Are you able to follow, guys? Then the next one they are saying, next amendment, if company has changed the name, if central government allows a new name, they should use the new name along with the old name which the company shall use. This we already have. You should use new name along with the old name. We discussed this many times. So when company gets a new name, you have to use both new and old together. Okay. This is the amendment in incorporation chapter. Moving on to prospectus chapter. Okay. In prospectus chapter, what he is saying, this is not that big an amendment, but what they are trying to say, here, this paragraph is the amendment. Let me read and explain. This is new for all of us, whether you watched May 23 or November 23 of my class. This is something we have to discuss, but not that important. It's an amendment, so we have to cover. Provided that no offer or invitation or any security under this rule shall be made to a body corporate incorporated in or a national or a country which shares a land border with India, like Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, somebody who is sharing a land border with India, as the case maybe I have obtained through the things, and the same is attached in private placement. They are saying private placement, beautiful amendment point, guys. அவன் என்ன சொல்றான், private placement should not be made to any individual who is located in India. And we discussed in class, this came because of Sahara case law. So what people started doing, they sent individuals to Nepal, and I am doing private placement for people in Nepal, evading the provision. So amend பண்ணிட்டான். So you cannot do private placement, or basically you can do, but in the limit of 200, you have to include even those 200 people. Those 200 people, who are those 200 people? Those 200 people should be included, even if those 200 people are in any country which is sharing a land border in India. So you can mark it actually as important. அவன் டெஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம், Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan. You will tell Pakistan are not included, but now in the limit of 200, you should not count them. Are you able to follow? Clear, Madhu? Understanding? Okay. This is the amendment in prospectus chapter. And one more amendment. They have omitted something, so you can leave that. In case of issue of bonus shares, company has to attach form PAS3. This we discussed panla. We never discussed in the class, so it's omitted. They are saying it's omitted, so not a big deal. Since we are in prospectus chapter discussing about 200, let me finish that related point. This is important. If you use the material we discussed in class, in private placement chapter 42, in May 23 I would have told a different thing, November 23 I would have told a different thing, and later maybe corrected, but what I am telling now is final. Private placement can be made to maximum 200 people. There was a question of, what if there is equity shares, debenture holders, preference shareholders? That means different security holders. Different security holders. How do I count it for different security holders? Can I include everybody and count as 200, or separately 200? In our book, I would have mentioned that everything put together, 200 in aggregate, I would have mentioned. That went through an amendment, through an explanation given by ICA in circular. This 200 should be applied individually for each security. This is important. Whichever recording you are watching, please make a note of this, guys. So the 200 should be seen for each security holder separately. Debenture holder 200, equity shareholder 200. This is one correction you have to make in the book as well. Are you guys following? Madhu, understanding? Okay. This is with respect to prospectus chapter. Now coming to deposits, again a small amendment, not that big, not like the previous sharing land border in India and all. In rule 16, after the words auditor of the company, the words letter, figure and declaration to the effect shall be submitted by the auditor in DPT form shall be inserted. Basically DPT 3 is deposits, we should give it before 30th June of every year. Once deposit is there, they are saying after the words auditor of the company, basically we look at this word, a duly audited return DPT 3 before 31st March shall be filed with the company every year. Here they are saying after the words auditor of company, the words letter, figure and declaration to the effect by auditor. He is trying to say it should be only auditor, no other auditor, no CS, no CMA, not such a big amendment, nothing for us to worry much about over here. Okay. Then coming down to charges chapter, this we discussed in class, it's there in the book. Again, not a significant amendment, a procedural amendment. They have added a new sub-rule. Sub-rule new is inserted. What they are saying, nothing contained in this rule, in which section, in the sub-rule 3 shall apply to charge required to be created or modified by a banking company in section 77, where loan is given under this section. What they are saying, number 77 padikumbodhu, this I covered for both May 23 and November 23. I told charges chapter is not applicable for a banking company. For a banking company, charge chapter is not applicable because banking company's main purpose is to keep giving loans. Upon he has to keep creating charges. So the charge chapter is not applicable for banking company. How deposit chapter is not applicable for banking, NBFC, National Housing Board thing. Banking company ke charge chapter is not applicable. Are you following? Okay. Then one more small amendment in charge chapter. Signing of charge e-forms by insolvency resolution professional or liquidator of a company under resolution or liquidation. Basically, they are saying all these charge forms, charge form padikala sir. Okay, all the charge forms in these cases should be signed even by an insolvency resolution professional. We call him that IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, we have an insolvency professional who should sign these charge forms along with the existing people who are signing. Not a significant amendment, not like the previous banking company, not applicable 77, not as significant as this. Are you following, guys? Okay, now coming to meetings chapter. I hope the speed is fine. Madhu, is the speed fine? We're just quickly summarizing. Meetings chapter, again, we only have a small amendment, not that big. Newly inserted, notwithstanding anything contained in the sub rules. Okay, fine. Following particulars of register or index in respect of members shall not be made available for any inspection under 92 or taking extracts of 94. What is he trying to say? 88 talks about register of members. Section 94 talks about you can keep this register of members in any place in India where 1/10 of people reside for doing inspection. Now imagine I am the shareholder. I know my enemy is also a shareholder of same company. I am going to company, doing inspection, taking my enemy's address and going to his house and slapping him. Can I do that? No. So in inspection, inspect pannu matta members. But you cannot take copy of address, email ID, unique identification number and PAN number of other shareholders. Data privacy. Imagine I take your personal email ID and spam you. Then sir, what if I go for inspection and take photo? You should not do it. You cannot take any extract or copy. If you get caught, penalty. Important one, beautiful point. When in class somebody used to ask, sir, what's our privacy issue? That time I used to tell, yes, privacy only, what to do. Members, so law is now saying, you can't, when inspection panambodhu, in the personal information, makes sense. Okay, this is amendment in section 88, meetings chapter. Proceeding further, dividend chapter, very simple. IEPF small amendment, newly inserted. What is the amendment? All this came on notification is 9 June 2021. But this we discussed in class itself. Not something we missed. This we discussed in the class. All shares held by authority with proviso subsection 90. 90 is significant beneficial owner. 89 is beneficial owner, 90 is SBO of the act and all resultant benefits arising out of shares without any restriction. For IEPF, central government in IEPF, if you see here, in declaration of dividend, IEPF, investor education protection rules, they are saying when you are transferring to IEPF, you will transfer even SBO if for 7 years the benefits have not been claimed. Are you following? In SBO concept, if benefits is not claimed, like how normal dividend is transferred, even SBO benefits will be transferred to IEPF if 7 years gets over. That's it. 90 itself is an amendment which is not yet tested. With the 90 mal amendment, so they can test both together, 90 with IEPF. Exam. They can ask 125 read along with 90. It's a beautiful question they can ask. Nobody will expect. Because 90 also I didn't study. 125 this also I don't know. Okay. Now coming to accounts of company. Irukara Padi amendment is CSR. Not Padi, I'm sorry guys. 90% of amendments is CSR. Fortunately or unfortunately, the CSR amendments will take me 1 hour to explain, which we covered fully in our class. But what I'm going to do for benefit of those students watching only this video, in the description of this video, I will add a link of CSR amendments as separate 1 hour video for new students watching this class. What are the new amendments? Lot of things, capital asset, then within 6 months transfer to schedule 7, money used, money not used, so many things. So I will share the CSR video for you separately. If you are watching it first time, I will share the November 23 latest CSR video. So nothing else you have to watch. But what is important for us here, for mainly those, see the CSR keeps going. I am not going to do this because all this was covered in our class. All this was covered in our class. But which one CSR 2 should be filed along with AOC, XBRL, all that we discussed. Now, before I go to this, one more amendment in books of accounts. CSR, if you are a May 23 student, in the recording if you belong to, there is something we have to note because this came after our classes. Okay, so it's important over here. I would have sent this as a message to you guys also, but still I will repeat what it is. In schedule 7 of CSR, they have added a few things. How we know we can use for Clean Ganga Fund, and the list they added one more thing called Har Ghar Tiranga. இங்கே இருக்கும் Har Ghar Tiranga, every வீட்டு மாடியில் அந்த Indian flag போடுறது, keeping the Indian flag in every house terrace. That spend is also it's here. Har Ghar Tiranga, under the ages of Azadi Ka Amrit, I don't know Hindi guys, sorry, I cannot read it exact pronunciation. That mass production of national flag, Madhu is telling, I want everybody in Chennai to have Indian flag. From her house, she is producing Indian flags, 20 lakhs. The money she spends is a CSR activity. Are you able to follow, guys? This is one which is important. They can test in somewhere because this is the only new addition in schedule 7. The second amendment over here is basically okay. They just basically said, see, COVID it's still applicable. Even though COVID is over, you can still continue, they have mentioned over here. That is not important. I am focusing on something which is removed from the RTP here, but it is there in the May 23 RTP, which is very important. Okay, fine. This, if you are a May 23 student, it's important for you to note. In CSR expenses, how much can I spend for admin overhead in CSR committee? We would have seen that of the total CSR spending, 5% can be spent for admin overhead. If you remember, 5% can be spent for admin overhead. Do you remember that, guys? 5% can be spent for admin overhead. And also, there was something called impact assessment in CSR. In our classes, you would have seen. Impact assessment says if the outlay is more than 10 crores or individual project is more than 1 crore, then you should do an impact assessment. The expense for that impact assessment should not exceed 2%. If you are a May 23 student watching that 85 hours video, in the book and in the class, that also would have been mentioned as 5%. Okay, that time you should have had a logic. Sir, if CSR is Nurwa, for admin overhead I can spend 5. Then this impact assessment is a sub expense for admin. How can this also be 5%? So, within this 5% is a sublimit of 2% which can be spent for impact assessment. That is an amendment which you have to note. I hope you guys are following till here. Okay. After I finish this, Madhu, remember the message I sent? You have that in the group. Just show me that message. I will see if something is missed out. This is an amendment which is there in the May 23 RTP. It's missing from whatever I am seeing from the November 23 RTP. This is the changes for those who watched our classes for CSR. Otherwise, if you are watching first time, like I told, description la full detailed CSR for 1 hour is given for you guys. Now, one more amendment. They are saying in section 128, whenever books of accounts are kept in electronic mode, we were told it should be accessible in India and it should be, the server should be in India and the backup should be kept in periodical basis, correct? This is amended where the word periodical basis is changed to daily basis. So, backup should be sent to India on a daily basis. Why, sir, this amendment came much earlier in 5th August 22 itself? Why didn't you take it in the class? Reason, some amendments, even though our amendments are not included in RTPs. If it's not there in RTP, it's not there for exam. There are some more amendments which is there but not there in RTP. So, we're discussing only what's there in RTP. So, basically backup should be not sent in periodical basis but on a daily basis, can be tested in MCQ. This we discussed in class. Accessible in India is now accessible in India at all times. You can't tell night 3 a.m. we can't access. Accessible in India electronically whenever I want, 24/7 is the understanding over here. This is another amendment. Clear, guys? Okay. This is something you have to change in books of accounts. Then CSR we are coming. Again, some more amendments with respect to CSR. Like I told you, whatever I am not discussing here is correct in our class. What you watch that is good to go. New students, like I said, you can watch it down. Okay. It's actually there here. So if you remember here, that word 5% is replaced as 2%, and a lot of students in class used to ask me in that same wordings, that 50 lakhs wording, sir, if you see that limit used to be earlier 5% or 50 lakhs, whichever is higher in kuduthirupanga. Many students ask me, how is that possible? Isn't that a drafting error? Yes, it's a drafting error. Now that impact assessment is made, 2% or 50 lakhs, whichever is less. For the words whichever is less, the words whichever is higher, sorry. The less should be replaced as higher. Less should be opposite. I'm so sorry. The word less is replaced as whichever is higher. In our book, whichever higher only is there. But 5% should change to 2%. Are you following, Madhu, understanding? This is another amendment. And that's it. We are done with all the amendments when it comes to your November 23 RTP. That's all you have to focus on. So I'm quickly ran through November 23 RTP except detailing of CSR. Link is below. 1.5 hour it will take. Watch that. You guys, I told you what's important for you. If you watch these videos, you know what's the difference. And for you guys, only a few things we have added over here. Now quickly let me check that message. Okay, fine. I think in that message, Har Ghar Tiranga 2%, whichever is higher in the group, in the paid group. You are not there in that. Law crashed May 23. Not there. You are not there in the group. Not there. Okay, fine. No problem. If something is there, again I will add on to this. So this is about the amendments for November 23, guys. So thank you and all the best for the exams. Anything, you can always reach out to me on 75501 37279 as always. Thank you.